With me, I have some discussions who are going to take us through the discussion of the topic we have before us today. However, before I do that, let me give a preamble about what the AEO program is. We know that in 2013, the URA unveiled the AEO program as one of its flagship programs to enhance security and facilitation of the international trade supply chain. The program has since grown from 2013 to now, with 83 companies on board as national AEOs. At the regional level also, the East African community adopted the AEO program and is implementing it as a region. At regional level, there are 135 regional AEOs. Out of the 83 Ugandan companies, 31 are also regional AEOs. The AEO program is also being implemented by other countries around the world. And from the WCO compendium, there are currently 97 operational AEO programs and 20 other AEO programs being developed by different countries around the world. There are also 87 bilateral mutual recognition agreements, which the experts will talk about as we discuss along, and 4 plurilateral regional MRAs, that is mutual recognition agreements, to be concluded. And there are some 78 more other negotiations around the world. This gives us a perspective that the AEO program is actually faring well all over the world. Now we know that the WCO holds a global conference after every 2 years to review the implementation of the AEO program. And Uganda was the host to the last AEO conference, which was the 4th global conference. The first one we know was in Korea. The second one was in Spain, in Madrid. The third one was in Mexico, and the 4th was in Uganda. This was in 2018, and we are currently what people would say the holding champions. We are the ones supposed to pass over the baton to the 5th global conference, which is supposed to take place in Dubai. Now, with me to discuss this topic, I have Mr. Charles Rumanyika, who is a manager in customs and a man of great experience. He has more than 20 years experience with customs, and as the manager of customs audit, where the AEO unit sits, I think he will give us a lot of insights into what the AEO program is and what the global conference is all about. Mr. Charles Rumanyika, you can give a brief introduction.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, for allowing me to participate in this program. Like Martin has said, my name is Charles Rumanyika. I work with Customs Audit as a manager audit. And Customs Audit in Uganda also oversees the AEO program. My discussion today will center on the AEO program and possibly get feedback and provide answers to issues that the public brings. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I'm also supposed to be joined by another discussant, Mrs. Jenniffer Mijuche, who is the Managing Director of Unified Cargo Handling. She is also a very experienced business lady with a lot of experience in the area of logistics. She managed to build a formidable company called Unified Cargo Handling, which is trading in the whole of East African Community region. Ms. Jenniffer is also an author of a book called The Memoir of a Business Minister. She will be joining us online once we are able to connect to her. As we wait for her to be connected, I would want to start off with Mr. Rumanyika straight away. That a simple question to get us started. Why did Uganda Revenue Authority adopt the Authorized Economic Operator Program? If you could take us through that.
Thank you, Martin. And I think, like you said, it appears to be a simple question, but possibly, as we discuss, we can also appreciate it better. But before we answer that particular question, allow me to give you some small background so that you can put AEO into perspective. And the starting point will be, what is the overall objective of the AEO program? Essentially, the overall objective of the AEO program is to promote partnership. Partnership between customs between customs and business, partnership between customs and the private sector. This one derives its root from the SAFE framework of standards. The SAFE framework of standards provides for those requirements as means and tools to support trade, to improve cooperation. That is partnership customs to business, and customs with other government agencies. This program works on the principle of recognizing and rewarding compliance. And on recognizing and rewarding compliance, which we would expect from the players, in this case the private sector, customs and government agencies recognize this effort by giving them rewards. Essentially, rewards center on the principle of simplicity, principle of convenience, so that the business sector can do business better. Maybe another thing also to ask is, what are the AEO programs? World over there are two areas, two perspectives of AEO. One is what we call the AEO-C. This one focuses on custom simplification, and its intention here is to enable business entities comply to customs procedures, customs control, customs processes. And this has been the historical principle of AEO. Essentially, in our language, we would put it in selectivity. If someone is compliant, make him green, make him blue, make him red. But then, with what happened in the world around 2001, the concept of security became now a global area of concern. And the understanding and the agreement between the world bodies, World Trade Organization, World Customs Organization, and the business community, including government, is how can we embed security? And there we bring on board another area called AEOS, S meaning safety and security. That apart from being compliant processes and procedures, how are your systems, how robust are your systems to guarantee security of the supply chain? Of course, the supply chain we're talking about starts from the originator of goods to the final consumer of goods. That's a downstream flow, but then there's also an upstream flow, movement of money, movement of information. So it involves all these players along the value chain: consolidators, transporters, customs agent, customs brokers, bonded warehouse operators, and the business community. Uganda opted to take both, because there are some countries that only take over customs C, focusing on custom processes. Others focus on customs S, depending on national needs. Uganda opted to take both to ensure that custom processes are compliant, and also the systems accord us and guarantee us security. Of course, when you're talking about security, I've referred to the 2001, we're looking at terrorism, drugs, arms, and all other things that threaten security of the nation and the people. Now, another thing to look out for is, what do we consider? Because that would be another interesting question. What do we consider for someone to be an AEO? Basically, our consideration in assessing compliance centers on principle of confidence. Can we, as customs, can government agencies have confidence that the client has been compliant? And of course, compliance is not a one-off. We focus on historical compliance. In our case, we look at possibly 3 years. Other countries look at different periods. So how has your history of compliance been? And therefore you can get confidence that you are good. 2 is how robust are your systems? How are your systems? How are your processes? How are your controls? Because the robustness of your systems and governance structures assure us that the company can be relied on, or the client can be relied on to be self-governing. And maybe another issue is then what is in it? We talked about simplification. Of course, simplification in the simple terms focuses on reduction in customs controls and government agencies controls. How do we reduce our level of interventions at the front desk, at the border, in the DPC, in the customs warehouses, and allow this client to go to the market faster? How can we reduce the bulk of the documentation we require for you to clear through customs? After all, we know you have got good systems, good processes, and we can find those documents later on. And then how can we accord you priority treatment? Priority treatment by way of reducing all bottlenecks, others would call them non-tariff barriers, NTBs, so that the client can go to business. So, what is in it? And that is the question, I think. I wanted to give you this background so that we can put this discussion into perspective. What is in it and why did Uganda join this program? The first principle was, or objective was to promote efficiency in the use of resources. As you're aware, the world over, the volume of trade is increasing. The dynamism of trade requirements are increasing. The requirements and the needs of the clients is also increasing. And yet the resources that manage these are small, both from the customs angle and other government agencies angle. And therefore, efficiency would mean that companies that are robust, companies that are good, companies that are considered to be compliant and therefore authorized as AEO, can have limited to no intervention at the point of entry, so they can clear their goods. We can do a post-clearance audit if that was the case. In Uganda's case, for example, Mr. Jok said 34% of our customs revenue comes from AEOs. That in effect would mean 34%, if I can use just a direct comparison. 34% of our work, of our revenue is collected without our interventions. So 34% of resources, just hypothetical, 34% of those resources can now be devoted to solve another emerging needs. And that's another reason why Uganda went into the AEO program. Can we use these resources efficiently so that we can focus these resources on areas of great risk? Do I have to verify? Do I have to do documentary check? Do I have to hold someone for another 1 day or 2 when that person is compliant, when that person has systems, and yet I could have focused this time on someone who is struggling or who needs my help? Then another one, of course, is also to promote partnership. AEO program enhances promotion of partnership between customs, government agencies, and business to promote systems, to promote processes, to promote procedures, and these are all intended to address risks along the supply chain. Of course, from the customs side and the government side or any government agency, the risk could be revenue, could be standards, could be security. But also from the client side, I want us to give the other coin. A good system, a good process also controls your business, because you'll have less privilege, you'll have possibly less rejection of goods supplied not complying to standards, because if your systems are good, then you can comply to standards. Another possible benefit is also to support domestic revenue mobilization. The essential role of customs is not essential to collect taxes. It's only in the circumstances that we are that it appears to be at the forefront. The principal role of customs world over is facilitate trade. And you cannot facilitate trade by controlling. You can only facilitate trade by allowing convenience. So the business person goes to the market faster, goes to the market earlier, increases turnover, increases employment, increases income, increases profitability, and then revenue can be generated. Because if you employ, there is payee. If you employ, there is income that consumes goods. If you employ, there is profitability and therefore income tax. If you employ and generate industry, then you consume local resources and therefore improve the value chain. Then, of course, another one is also we talked about cost of doing business. If I can give a simple example, that each time a container stays at the port, would pay about $200 container double charges. It would pay possibly another $100 for the transporter. It will pay for the truck driver, it will pay for a turnman, and you realize that by the time the container lays at the port for an additional day, that consignment could take about $500. So look at $500 times the multiplicity of containers this country works, and understand what revenue is lost through costs that would have been saved and business profitability. Of course, even on the client side, a reduction in cost is also good for you. Then, of course, for URA is also to promote one of our core values. One of our core values of URA and the government is to promote a client-centric culture. But you cannot not support a client-centric culture unless you promote partnership, unless you promote cooperation, unless you promote trust. So, in Uganda's perspective, these are the basic elements that drove us to join the AEO program. And all other things fit within this puzzle. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Charles. That is quite elaborate, and maybe what I can pick from there as a summary is that the URA was looking for a way of partnering with its clients in order to facilitate or make life easier for both the operators and the URA, in simple terms, and we seem to be realizing that. Maybe we can therefore go straight to the main topic. What is the 5th AEO Global Conference about?
Thank you very much, Martin. Even before talking about the 5th AEO Global Conference, maybe what is the essence of an AEO Global Conference? Whether 1st, 5th, 10th, or otherwise. Essentially, the essence of an AEO Global Conference is provide a platform where business, government, and other experts can share ideas. First of all, by taking stock on how far we have come, appreciating the challenges, sharing good practices that different countries will be implementing along the AEO program, and then forging a common future to make trade secure, make trade efficient, make trade benefit and solve the common problem of society, employment, poverty, and well-being. So the 5th Global Conference essentially talks about those. It will be a platform where these ideas will be discussed. But then, of course, this 5th Global Conference brings in another perspective, two perspectives. The first perspective is to make a reflection of how far the AEO worldwide has progressed since around 2001, and then also the decade of the mutual recognition arrangements, what we call MRAs. We shall possibly discuss about MRAs later. Take stock of how far we have gone, and then also trying to establish how these can help secure the global supply chain through trade facilitation. Of course, aware that the global landscape has radically changed. An emergence of small businesses, an emergence of gender issues, an emergence of e-commerce, transformation of risk. So this AEO Global Conference is supposed to have this one at the back of the mind, and then find out how can mutual recognition arrangements between countries, between partners, and how can the AEO program in general help address these risks? How can we, for example, make it more gender sensitive? Aspects of women are coming on board. How can we make AEO now focus on the small and medium businesses? And how can we promote them to grow? Of course, another area that comes to play with this global conference is that you are aware that we are emerging or still in a global pandemic. This global pandemic has disrupted business. And therefore our consideration for this conference is to appreciate how does AEO, how does MRA help in improving the economy, helping the economy recover, making the economy more robust. And if you look at the agenda, those are the areas that will be discussed. Of course, now this AEO conference is also aligned to the theme of WCO for 2021. And maybe if I can read it, this theme focuses on customs bolstering recovery, renewal, and resilience for a sustainable supply chain. That the pandemic has disrupted our business. How can customs support business recovery? How can customs support resilience? How can customs make it progressive and be sustainable? So the discussion around this global conference, we will try to find out ways that customs, especially through the AEO, through mutual recognition arrangements, can help the world recover, because we must recover to be able to progress forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, and from that we can see that yes, the global conference comes in to discuss topical issues that are current and affecting the international community in terms of movement of trade and how the supply chain should be managed. In that regard, maybe before we look into the details of it, why should I register to attend the global conference? What should motivate me to attend such a conference, since it is going to be online anyway?
Thank you, Martin. Just again to re-emphasize, and because of the global pandemic, this conference is going to be virtual meaning online. And therefore, possibly answer the second question, why? The first question will be, it's cheaper. In this case, therefore, you don't have to travel, because sometimes you'll be inconvenienced because the cost of travel, the cost of maintenance is high. But this online makes it cheaper, and therefore it should get a bigger audience. The last global conference we had in Uganda were considered to be the highest, the most highly attended, about 1,100. This one is global, this one is virtual. We expect the numbers to be bigger. So the audience is supposed to be big. Then possibly, again using a hypothetical statement, there's something we call selfishness. So selfishness can come in two ways. Destructive selfishness, which we don't want, of course, but let us focus on constructive selfishness. The constructive selfishness as is use an opportunity available to make better use for yourself, for the community. And this will be what I will urge and what I will think will benefit. That one, we shall get knowledge. Knowledge about the global business trade, knowledge about the best practices, knowledge about business processes, knowledge about opportunities that exist in the world. And we can therefore use this opportunity to be constructively shellfish by getting this knowledge for our use, for our business resilience and sustainability. We can also be sharing our experience so that others can also benchmark, because good quality comes from a hybrid of ideas. So that is one benefit. Another benefit, of course, that's the second benefit. A third benefit is the aspect of networking. A global conference or any workshop is a platform where people network. And business is about networking. Branding is about networking, it's about connecting. Marketing is about connecting. Communication is about connecting. And this is a place where now you're going to have people along the whole value chain. Finance sector, logistics managers, businessmen, traders, commission agents, experts, academia. You can network and get value for your business. I think these are the basic three opportunities. And for Uganda, of course, it's also very important because we are the host of the 4th WCO AEO Global Congress. It is therefore important that we go in more vibrant this time and hand over the baton to Dubai. Dubai was with us. Unfortunately, we cannot be there, but we can be online. So this is the time for us to support Dubai, support the world by participating in this conference and officially hand over the baton for the good of the world. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually very important, and because we get knowledge through this conference, we network with people, but also it gives opportunity for you to contribute to the community, your knowledge, your ideas, because it is normally open for anyone to contribute. Because talking about the knowledge that somebody is going to get, the global conference normally discusses very topical issues. If I look through the lineup of some of the topics that has been presented, I think it would be very interesting for someone to attend this. For example, we have session 1. It will be talking about fostering sustainable supply chains. This is going to be very important. As Charles has talked about, the global pandemic which has interrupted the supply chain. So fostering the sustainable supply chain is I think is going to be a very important topic that anybody engaged in the international trade supply chain should be able to tap into the knowledge which is going to be there. I see also in session 2, there will be a panel discussion on intergovernmental agencies. Now, I understand for this topic, our own Commissioner Customs will be one of the discussants to give us insights on how intergovernmental agencies and other border agencies will play a role, or how they have been supporting customs operations and all that. And I think this is again another very critical topic. Another topic, as I can see here, is extending the scope of AEO programs to e-commerce operations. Charles, I think this is one of the areas which poses a great challenge to customs, the issue of e-commerce, the way it is coming. Trade is taking place, but we sometimes don't see them because e-commerce is becoming a borderless transaction. And I think it should be a very interesting topic for us. There are also other topics like building trust for genuine partnerships in AEO programs and MRAs, and also issue of technical assistance and capacity buildings, that is for countries that are better off than others. We also know that during the day 2 of the conference, there will be track presentations, about 9 of them, 9 track presentations, and again the topics which are going to be discussed, some of them are very topical and very interesting. For example, identification of emerging supply chain security threats, such as cyber security risks. Many of us are nowadays going online and doing all that, but do we know the risks which are there and how to mitigate them? The global conference will give us international experts to discuss such areas, engaging with other government agencies to support global recovery, how customs can engage with other agencies. This is also another great topic which will be presented on that day. One of the other topics is leveraging on emerging technologies for AEO programs in order to promote supply chain supply chain renewal. Of course, after the disruption from the COVID pandemic, how the supply chain can be renewed to go back to where it was or even to perform better. So I see that there is a very big room for contribution for those who are experts in these areas, as well as those who want to learn more from experts around the world, to learn from their experiences. I think it is a great area. Charles, you possibly could also tell us, Uganda, we understand, is participating in 2 major ways. One of them I've mentioned, that is the commissioner is going to have be one of the panel discussants. What is the second major thing that Uganda as a country is going to participate in during the global conference?
Thank you, Mr. Ojok. But possibly before I can answer that one, there are some things you mentioned which appear on the agenda.
Yes.
Supply chain risks, e-commerce. And I'd like to say that the global pandemic of COVID on the local level would have possibly Ebola, but now this is a global COVID, shows us that the supply chain risks are actually as enormous, and therefore we need a robust system of cooperation and partnership. The traditional process of customs is about move goods, pay tax, verify, go home. But now COVID comes in. COVID now is a health issue, and therefore a government agency to do with port health, border health, Ministry of Health, Department of Health comes into play to strengthen the supply chain security. But then COVID moves with the people. So the Department of Immigration, the department that deals with humans, come into the supply chain. So the COVID now tries to demonstrate exactly how the various players in the supply chain manifest. And then of course also COVID tells us that yes, without documentation, you can still operate business using alternative ways like e-commerce. And now e-commerce becomes very, very important for us to appreciate. All of us have not been traveling all over the world, but we have been procuring, dealing online. And as we did in online, a lot of things come in, fraud, internet fraud, quality issues. And now those are the areas that the global conference will discuss. How do you manage these risks related to e-commerce? And this, of course, now provides an opportunity for the small businesses that could not afford to travel, that e-commerce becomes vibrant. So the role of the small and medium-scale enterprises becomes very evident here. I think now we appreciate what the supply chain is, what partnership involves, and why it is important, and how this global conference now gives us an opportunity to see how to fit into these challenges. Then I'll go to possibly the question you asked. During the 4th AEO CO Global Conference, Uganda and friendly countries and customs administration initiated a number of activities. One of these activities was what we call MRA, Mutual Recognition Arrangements. Mutual Recognition Arrangement is in simple terms a situation where one customs administration agrees with another customs administration to support AEOs in those countries. For example, if Uganda partners with Kenya, then AEOs of Kenya, when they come to Uganda, get the same benefit, the same privilege. So the opportunities and trade facilitation goes beyond the border. And there's also a principle of reciprocity. That's a diplomatic term. Geneva Convention has it, business processes have it, but of course in different ways. That even if I treat you well, treat me well. That even if goods for Uganda go to Kenya, then they are treated in the same level of respect and facilitation the way we treat theirs. So during the 4th Global Conference, we initiated a number of MRAs.
Yes.
The first formal discussion and engagement was with China Customs. That Uganda and China can cooperate to promote global supply chain through the AEO program under what we call the MRA.
Yes.
And this will be one of the main events, I think, on the day one, where Uganda and China will sign an MRA to cooperate. And this, of course, is good business for the Ugandan business community trading in China, of course, if you're compliant, if you're an AEO, and for the China business community trading in Uganda, if they fall within those. So this is going to be the first event, and I would request that people participate, people support us, and people witness this. It might be the first between China and the African continent. It might be the first. So that is one event. But of course, a lot of others will come on board, not necessarily for this conference. We have got into discussion with China, we have got discussion at the regional level with India, we have got discussion at the regional level with India and Korea, we have got discussion with South Africa, those will come back. So this first signing will definitely put us at a level of exposure and experience and confidence to engage in more. So that the benefits of AEO can go beyond the borders, or AEOs can benefit in the other countries in as much as they benefit. Thank you very much.
Well. That one is actually one of to me, the icing on the cake, because it shows definitely that if we hosted the 4th global conference, and out of the 4th global conference, we were able to get into this onto a round table with a big trading giant like China, and now we are going to have to sign a mutual recognition agreement with them. I think this shows that our AEO program has matured, and it can now match with such like China. And I think it's one of the big benefits I see here. And the fact that it will be there actually is one of the very reasons why we need to attend it. And also, being that it is the first in Africa, Charles, as you say, I think this also is very commendable if we can have it done, because that means we are actually not the tail, but we are at the head, which is another very important thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just as a reminder, we are discussing about the 5th AEO Global Conference, which is a conference normally organized by the WCO, the World Customs Organization, once every 2 years, to discuss or to review the implementation of the Authorized Economic Operator Program. The Authorized Economic Operator Program is being implemented by very many countries around the world, and as we mentioned earlier, there are about 97 operational ones around the world, with 20 more being developed. So it's a big program that is running in almost all customs administration around the world. In Africa, Uganda happens to be one of the pioneers of this program, and we have been implementing, which climaxed into last year when we hosted the 4th AEO Global Conference. We have been told by Charles that more than 1,100 delegates came here in 2018 to attend. I think they were from 95 countries.
Yeah.
Yes, from 95 countries. That was one of the best attendance so far registered. The 5th one, which is organized in Dubai, this time because of the global pandemic, is going to be online. Being online comes with its own advantage, in that you don't have to spend money to travel physically. You just connect online and you attend, and you get the benefits of the knowledge that different experts around the world have. The global conference is normally attended by customs experts, operators, traders, and government agencies, as well as people of the academia. Soon I will be giving out the link where you can go and register from. But for now, I am sure that there may be a number of people who have some questions for Mr. Rumanyika Charles. We are still waiting for Madam Jenniffer. If she connects, then we will also be able to hear from her. Meanwhile, in case there are any questions, feel free to send your questions in the form of text, which you can type on the chat panel, and people will pick it up and raise the questions to us. Charles, while we wait for maybe if there are any questions, possibly I could ask you also to explain to us a bit. There might be some companies out there or some CEOs who are possibly hearing about AEO for the first time. And when you talk of benefits, possibly some are interested in knowing a little bit further. You could also tell us the benefits of being an AEO. If you could talk a little more about it, so that people who are interested can understand why it is important to.
I think, thank you, Mr. Jock. Whatever we talk about these benefits, we'll try to focus on 2 or 3 simple deliverables. Simple, of course, by way of saying, but hard by way of achieving. One is, can we make business convenient? Can we make business more efficient? Can we make business more secure? Can we make business more profitable? So cost of doing business through efficiency measures is one area. And in Uganda's case, how do we reduce costs of doing business? The cost of doing business reduction in Uganda's AEO program as a benefit is how can we ensure that an AEO operator that complies to all requirements passes through customs or a government agency as fast as he can. We have got AEO operators who have passed through customs in less than an hour. Actually, some of them have passed through in minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because if you are AEO, if your systems have been trusted, if the players along the value chain, because it is one thing being an AEO operator as an importer, but then your partners are not compliant. Yes. So if you are AEO and your supply chain controls are good and trusted, those get auto release, auto exit. What remains is for the operator to go and pick. Essentially, that's cost of doing business. How do we reduce delays? Another benefit, of course, is about the related cost is if there is need for inspection, we give an AEO an option that instead of opening your container in Mombasa, in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, in Malaba, in Busia, or possibly in a company and customs bond, we allow you to take your goods to your owner's premises, what we call verification at owners, so that you can offload once, stack once, and secure the goods once. So, breakage, pilferage, damage, difficulty of packing, because when you unpack and repack it becomes difficult. Sometimes what came in one container has to go into about 3 or 4. Then, of course, another area that comes through through cost of doing business is priority treatment. That if along the way you are in a queue, can an AEO be given priority so that it's treated fast? And unless, of course, there's a disruption. I'm also trying to be human, that maybe you're an AEO, but there's an emergency, maybe an explosive, maybe a health concern. But whatever the circumstance, can you be given priority treatment so that you move faster compared to your peers? Then, of course, the benefit to be a first participant in innovations by URA and customs. That if customs is innovating, we discuss, because we trust your systems, we trust your processes, we discuss with you, so you have a first mover advantage for any innovation, any initiative that comes on board. Whatever you are seeing that comes on board has actually been piloted and worked on with AEOs. Back again to cost of doing business is also about security. The principle of insurance is that the higher the risk, the higher the likelihood, the higher the probability, the higher the impact, the higher the premium. We're in the discussions with the insurance fraternity to find out what benefit can we give an AEO that has a secure supply chain from end to end. So that if others are paying possibly 2%, just for example's sake, could you pay less? And you're all aware that the insurance premium is high. Of course, some countries have gone to an aspect of deferred payment. Can you take your goods and pay tomorrow? But of course, we need to fit that on the legal framework. Our legal framework has not been as robust to allow that one, so we shall bring that one on board. I think those to me are some. And then the most important is also giving the client, an operator, an opportunity to propose a benefit. Because there's one way of us proposing benefits that they come from the boardroom, from this side of the table. But they may not be as practicable, as applicable, as effective in solving your pain. So the benefit now we're putting on board is, can a client who is an AEO propose a benefit that he considers to be a game changer in making his business more efficient, more secure. And this is a calling I'm giving to all operators, both on board and those intending to come on board. Please come with what you think is a bottleneck. And of course, at the bigger scale is that whatever it has been piloted as an AEO benefit has eventually become a customs good practice. You get it, huh?
Yes.
And therefore it becomes a standard operating procedure for customs, a standard operating procedure for another government agency, and we therefore have to go back on the drawing board and reinvent. And that's more benefits. And that's why we call the operators and the players to propose. There's also a benefit of withholding tax exemption. That if you're an AEO, you have got an automatic withholding tax exemption. The assumption is that the legal framework is good, the other conditions are good. You have an automatic exemption of withholding tax. 6% withholding tax on your volume of imports is enough cash flow for you to do business. Is enough cash flow to save you from possibly going to the bank to borrow at 15 to 20% interest. So I think these could be the elementary basic benefits, yes. But of course the list is broader.
Yes.
We as Uganda, we are trying to review our benefits manual. We have now a total of about 23, and we are moving forwards to automate these benefits. So the automation of benefits can enable us to track performance, can enable the operator to appreciate the impact, and can enable us improve their value over time. Currently, the challenges are they are still manual, but as soon as we do automation, which is coming on board very soon, both in a automation process and a single window, the evidence of these benefits will be as big.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. It is definitely the reason why this program, the AEO program, came on board is so that trade can be facilitated to the benefit of the operator. And I see that with the 23 benefits, different types, definitely there are reasons why somebody should join and become an AEO. Maybe I would also ask you to briefly talk to the customs officers. What benefit is there for them in the AEO program?
Thank you very much, Martin. I think I'll try to be as direct on this one.
Yes.
The first benefit is cost. And for an officer, I'm looking at your cost in terms of energy, in terms of time. That if you have got 100 containers in your bond, and 34% of those are AEOs, is less energy spent because we all like said, selfish, constructive selfishness. We have got families, we have got private needs, we have got. Then it also helps customs officers minimize the extent of risk exposure. The person who verifies 100% physical documentation of 100 containers is more exposed to risk than the person who verifies 20%. Fatigue is less, getting mixed up is less. But then also another benefit is also to improve our cooperation and our partnership and our brand with the clients. We cannot work with the business unless we cooperate with them. And the businessman's appreciation of cooperation is how much have you made it easy, convenient, and friendly for him to do business. Another benefit is for us to partner and understand the business processes. The best way of managing risk is to understand the business process, how it operates, the embedded risks and errors that would appear to be those of commission or those of omission. And therefore, it also helps us in our offense management process, investigation process, compliance improvement plan, because you can now know which risk is of commission, is of omission, because you have known the business process. And of course, you cannot be a customs officer unless you know business. A customs officer world over is supposed to be an alpha and omega, because you're controlling the border.
Yes.
So how best do you do that without partnering with the public to know the business, to know the process, to know the risks, to know the opportunities? And of course, we have got a national obligation to support this country development. We cannot do that unless we try to work with those who support development.
In other words, for you to be able to collect that money, if you are collecting or facilitate trade, you must first understand the business that you are dealing with.
Otherwise, you'll be kidding, wasting your time.
Otherwise, you will be swimming in the mud. And understanding the business is going to make it easier for us even to collect more money with less efforts, and in a more enjoyable way, because you collect from a partner or a friend other than collecting from someone you are fighting with. And on top of that, what I think maybe has come out most prominently is that it gives customs the opportunity to understand how businesses are operating, because the AEO criteria, being very detailed, brings out a lot that customs needs to understand. Maybe before we go further, there are some questions that have come in. One of them is that, is the conference free? That is the first question. The second question is, when is the conference? And the third one is, what are some of the benefits of the conference to a new AEO, an AEO which has just been authorized? And of course, there is one on, can we have a copy of the presentation? Definitely a copy of the presentation will be made available and will be shared through the emails that have been registered, so the copy will be available. Charles, maybe if you can tackle the three questions about the conference, whether it is free, when it will take place, and what are the benefits to a new company, a new AEO.
Thank you very much, Martin. The conference is not free, but it is very cheap. The only cost is the cost of internet. The only cost will be the cost of internet and the cost of your time and attention. For starters, it does not involve international travel.
Okay.
But then I'm coming to that one. But even from the first experience, even if it was a national conference, you don't pay any cost. So I can assure the public that the conference is free, except the cost of internet and except the cost of your time. The conference will also take place between 25th to 27th May.
25th to 27th of May this year.
2021. It is virtual, it's online.
Okay.
The conference benefits, what you said about the benefits.
Yes, what are the benefits?
The benefits are the same benefits
to a new
because
AEO.
Whether AEO or no AEO, please attend. Because the discussion there is about business efficiency, business process, benchmarking, best practice.
Yes.
Of course, as an AEO, you learn more on what you could demand as your benefit to propose to us. Because you propose a benefit with an example of where it has happened. Another benefit, of course, for AEO is to give you confidence and hope that supply chain security is the way to go. Another benefit for an AEO is brand management. I'm aware I may not mention the names of 3 AEOs that got serious business deals during the 4th AEO Global Conference in Uganda. At their convenience, they will confess.
Yes.
So networking means exposure, networking means getting partners. So the conference is beneficial not only for the AEO, even for the academia, even for the business community, even for us as customs staff and the URS staff and other government agencies that control borders and manage trade, to know that these things are possible, these things happen, and they can be done. Thank you.
Yeah, that is very correct. Actually, I think to a new AEO, it's even more pertinent that you attend because you have just entered into a new system, a new commitment that you would like. It would be in your interest to understand what it takes to be in this new commitment. You learn from the experience of others around the world, and you will get to know that yes, some of the challenges that you face are actually the same as challenges others are facing. You can even get an idea of how to conduct your business from other parts of the world, because the good thing with a global conference is that it brings together different brains from different parts of the world which have different experiences. So I think for a new company, really, it is very critical that they attend to give you the confidence, give you the knowledge of the environment, and to help you see, or as Charles says, benchmark against others. Where am I and what do I need to do more to be there to gain the benefits that others are gaining?
Maybe I could also add, there's something you mentioned that is actually very important. You see, sometimes the perception is that AEO is a miracle, that you become an AEO today and blah, life goes on. AEO is a journey with the challenges that we can partner to resolve. And this conference also helps you now to know that yes, you may not be alone in this world of challenges. Your partner somewhere could be finding the same problem, but this is how they resolve them, or possibly this is how you could create a hybrid. So I think it is very important to give us confidence, like you say, to see how do we struggle and work together in this journey for the good.
Well, that is that's very good, Charles. I hope this answers the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are still any questions, feel free to ask. Send in your questions so that the expert can give us feedback. It's very important that you get to know what AEO is. And if you look at it now, the world seems to be moving from a certain position to a certain position. They will tell you that if you look at the world trade statistics, you'll find that in the countries where trade is highly facilitated, those are the countries that are holding the top positions in as far as global trade is concerned. And what does it then mean? That's why those countries are putting a lot of effort towards trade facilitation and securing the international trade supply chain. Now, for us to grow our businesses, we need to also embrace this issue of trade facilitation, and the AEO program is here to help us in that direction. It's very important that as a company or as a CEO, you learn more about the AEO program. And one of the best places you can start off with is even attending the global conference. Hear what people are discussing about the topic, and then from there you can come back and then discuss with the AEO experts here at URA. Charles, to expand on this one, I am sure there are some people who are still also asking. I wanted to bring in another angle, in that URA has been implementing the AEO program, but there is also a regional perspective. Possibly you could also guide the audience a bit about what is the regional about, and how does one get from national to the regional level. Just briefly, so that people know that yes, we are moving in this direction to avoid any confusion.
Thank you very much, Martin. And to answer that question, I'll first of all again talk about the supply chain. That the supply chain does not start and end in the country. The supply chain goes across the borders. And NTBs are not only confined in the country, but they go across borders. From the local perspective, for example, AEO is a customs program. But it makes no sense for customs to facilitate you, but Bureau of Standards does not, because they're not compliant. It makes no sense for customs to facilitate you and domestic tax does not recognize you, because they're not compliant or they have not understood. So internally we cooperate between the government agencies, between domestic tax, between investigations, to understand, between public relations, to understand that this is our AEO and this is what is entitled to. Please support him this way. Now, I want to take that on at the regional level, that most players along the value chain will definitely cross the border. Go to Kenya, go to Tanzania, go to Rwanda, go to Burundi, and go to Sudan. Of course, Sudan has not joined. And that's how the regional AEO programs come on board. As ESC, we have got 6 member states, 5 of which are now fully implementing the AEO program. Sudan, which has joined, will come later on. There's hope that DRC will come on board. And if it comes on board fully, then it becomes an addition to the block. So the regional program means that a Ugandan operator, on top of getting the benefits in Uganda, the cost saving, the efficiency he has got in Uganda should not be compromised because of an obstacle across the border. So a regional AEO program is a partnership between East African member states to recognize those AEOs. So that when they cross the border, they are accorded the same benefits, the same treatment, the same support, so that you can leverage the supply chain efficiencies all the way to the port. And of course, from the port now we're going to China, so we can leverage those efficiencies all the way to China and back. So that's the regional AEO program, and that's the principle on which it works. Currently, the regional AEO program has got 135 members, of which Uganda has 35.
Yes.
That means that the 5 operators, AEO operators in Uganda, can enjoy the same benefits across the board. Another question is, how do you become a regional operator? I think that's what you also asked.
Yes.
For you to become a regional operator, you first must be a national operator. So the starting point is express interest. We do authorization checks, we do validation checks, we authorize you as a national AEO. We allow you a duration of time so that we are sure, because the principle we have had here is that we need to trust you you need to trust us. We need to develop the systems and the change management together. So by the time we recommend it to the regional program, you are good to go. So you first become a national operator, operate for a period of time, then you again express interest, because the AEO program works on the principle of willingness. It must be the client to say, now I want to be an AEO, we put you on board if you qualify. Now I've been an AEO for 1 year or so, or two, depending on the time, I want to be an AEO at the regional level. We'll promote you to a regional level. I think that's how the regional AEO program operates. And currently we have got 35. Among the 35 is actually another interesting example, World Food Program. We are all aware that all UN agencies are protected by the Geneva Convention standards. And therefore, ordinarily, they don't need you. Their benefits are an entitlement. But for Uganda's case, because of the trust of Uganda, World Food Program says, I want to be part of the Uganda AEO program and regional AEO program. So that's another good example that our program is good. And it's also good to be both a national and a regional. Thank you.
Okay, that gives us a very good perspective of what the regional program is. We are getting very interesting questions. One of them, which has just come in, is someone is asking whether the program takes the whole day. This one I can answer right away. The program, being an online program, the conference being an online conference, will start at 12 Central European Time, because the conference will be managed from Brussels, where the World Customs Organization headquarters is, and it starts at 12, that is midday, according to Central European Time. For our local time here, you will have to add 2 hours. That means from 2 p.m. and it lasts only for 3 hours. That's from midday, 1, 2, 3, and by 5 it closes. So not by 5, by 1500, that's by 3 p.m. So it starts from 12 p.m. To 3 p.m. Central European Time, which in our case will be from 2 p.m. To 5 p.m. Our time. So that is the time. You don't need to invest the whole day. It's just for only 3 hours a day for those 3 days, on the 25th, on the 26th, and 27th. 3 days that you will be attending. Then now, another interesting question, Charles, is that what are some of the benefits from the perspective of a DT person, an officer in domestic taxes? What benefits? What are the benefits from attending this global conference?
Thank you very much, Martin. We are aware that Uganda, apart from the AEO program in customs, is also promoting other compliant initiatives. And for the case of domestic tax, we have got what we call cooperative compliance program. Cooperative compliance program. The principles are the same. How good are your systems? First of all, how compliant are you? How is your compliance history? How can I trust you? What are your systems? So, the importance and the benefit that any officer, domestic tax in this particular case, will come on board will be to compare how does the AEO programs align with the cooperative compliance program, cooperative compliance drive of domestic tax. We will also help the domestic tax officers to understand the customs and customs process, especially the international trade supply chain. A look at those topics actually talk about a lot of things. E-commerce has a lot of impact on domestic tax. shared services, import services. So DT will definitely benefit by understanding how the international supply chain operates from the customs perspective and how these can be allied to the domestic tax cooperative compliance program or domestic tax revenue mobilization drive. Another benefit for us now to speak on the same level. Because we are all dealing with the same client. He's putting on a customs court at the border, but putting on a domestic tax court, VAT, income tax, payee. So I think the best benefit there will be to create synergy on an interlinkage between international trade and domestic trade. How those secure a supply chain, how those secure revenue, and how those promote our overall objective of business efficiencies, revenue generation, profitability, economic development. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Actually, what you have said is the gist of the whole thing, that you cannot be a good tax collector if you are not knowledgeable. And the more knowledge you have, the better you become. Particularly, I am sure those auditors of domestic taxes understand this, that you need to have a lot of knowledge all round for you to be able to audit taxes properly. So the AEO program is going to help you understand the business of that person into details. You will understand the domestic aspects, but also the international trade aspects. Now, the beauty with the global conference is that a lot of these issues and the challenges that people are facing around the world is going to be discussed. And this will give you the understanding or the knowledge. When you approach your work tomorrow, you'll find that, yes, this company, for example, is involved in this kind of business, is doing e-commerce, and where do I start to audit this company from? What are the risks I am likely to encounter when, or what risk should I look for that can make this company fail to pay the correct taxes? Now, all this, you form an opinion based on knowledge. So I would really encourage, because some of these issues that we hear from such a global conference are not taught in classes. We may call ourselves tax experts, but sometimes you find that some of this knowledge is missing. It will be like you have a cake which is half has been removed. So to me, if you are a domestic tax officer, it's even more important that you get to understand this thing, to learn, so that when you go for your work, you don't really have to ask somebody in customs that, what is the meaning of this? Because you would already be knowing it. So it benefits everybody across the board. That would be my take and my opinion. Looks like we are running. Maybe before I go further, I should give out what I would say, the link. The link is not, for those who have registered, we will send the link to your email, but the easiest way out is just to go and type on Google. There's a link running on the screen. There is a link running on the screen. You can take that one. But if you cannot, just go and type, you Google the 5th AEO Global Conference. Then it will take you to the website, the event website. However, what I need to add here is that as the days draw closer to the final day, you may find that registration may be closed because when they reach a certain number of people, because of the IT issues involved, they may close registration. So it's better to register early enough and plan to participate fully. Do some background reading about the conference and about the AEO program, so that when you are attending these things, you can be able to either comprehend what people are discussing or even contribute, because we have realized that we have a lot of knowledge that we can contribute to the world. This was manifested here during the fourth global conference. After we did our hosting, the word went around the world that so far it has been the best. Now, it cannot be the best if we don't have good ideas. So you have good ideas, you can contribute towards these discussions which are taking place. So I will encourage everybody to participate in that direction. Charles, maybe as we draw closer to the end of our discussion, I will possibly ask you to explain maybe a few things to do with the relationship now that we have with other government agencies, because it's going to be a topic of discussions, and currently what is happening in the AEO program. Other government agencies, what role are they playing? Why do we need them to be on board? And what benefit they get from participating in this program? Just briefly.
Thank you very much, Martin. The starting point is that all government agencies, what we normally call cross-border regulatory agencies, contribute to the efficiency of and security of the international supply chain. UNBS with standards, agriculture and sanitary and phytosanitary, security with security issues, atomic energy with atomic issues. But we're also aware that each of these government agencies has got its own legal framework, its own legal mandate. Possibly others will work 24/7. 24/7 meaning from Monday to another Saturday, 7 days a week, 24 hours. Others may not work 24/7. Others may not work on public holidays on the weekends. And therefore, whatever efficiency you're trying to offer at one stage will be compromised by a bottleneck the other side. And that's why it is important that all cross-border regulatory agencies, customs including partner, to understand the business process, to understand the business challenges and support. But one way partnership would be to encourage automation across board, because automation is the engine. Supports data, supports risk management, supports the intervention, supports communication. With a single window now, we're bringing most government agencies on board. So that will ease communication, that will ease data management, that will ease risk management, which is the engine of AEO program. But even before we go there, we have got what we call a national working group. And this is a national working group where we selected a few government agencies, not that others don't add value, but we wanted to model and progressively nurture it. We have got Bureau of Standards, we have got agriculture, we have got agriculture meaning forestry, animal industry, Dairy Development Authority, crop. That national working group also has a private sector players who are AEOs. We have quarterly meetings where we discuss the challenges and how to operate. So internally, that's what we are doing. That can we discuss the idea? Can we generate this consensus? Can we appreciate the interventions? Can we coordinate activities? can we discuss how to implement other provisions of the law? Because cross-border regulatory agency is about cross-border movement. Essentially, we are governed by the OSBP Act, which provides for delegation. Part of the discussion is what aspects can we delegate, especially with manpower deficits. If I'm in a certain border and there is no sanitary and phytosanitary person, what aspects that can agriculture train me on and delegate me to handle? Efficiency, we talked about efficiency and social utilization. So that's the discussion National Working Group. We are trying now to expand it to put in an insurance company and discuss insurance issues. So that's what we are doing. We're also trying to promote the concept of risk management. We are in close discussions. Some agencies, especially UN-based, I think is getting automated very soon. And that makes the risk engine operate and then share risk parameters and be able to have a broader concept. So I think that's what we're doing nationally. Progress the single window to enhance cooperation, progress automation, and internally, which is within our mandate, organize and function and support the functional national working group. Of course, apart from the national working group, we're also having an AEO association, which is a private sector-led grouping of AEOs to have a common voice. That the national association is now also upgraded to a regional association. Martin Ojok is an expert on regional issues. I know you did not talk about yourself, but you have been an expert on the regional AEO program in Arusha. That's where the coordination is done. From the national working group, can we have a regional AEO working group? From the National AEO Association, can we progress to a regional AEO association? Currently, Uganda is the chair piloting the operationalization. So those are the efforts we are putting in place to discuss, to work with the government agencies managing the border to create synergy and avoid any NTBs that will disrupt any efficiency gains that we offer at one level or the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, it brings it out very clearly that other government agencies play a very important role in the issue of facilitation of trade as well. So it's very important that we work with them, understand each other's business, and then because in the discussions we have realized that when the AEO program is coordinated well with other agencies, it can actually be very instrumental. And I see one of the topic for discussions is how the AEO will help in the field of agriculture. I think this is something they have done in Latin America very well. However, maybe to also give information that within our region here of EAC, one of our biggest risks has been in the area of wildlife trafficking. Now, when you look at it, that wildlife trafficking definitely is not directly under our mandate, although it is under CITES, we also are responsible. But you find that sometimes the fight, we may need to coordinate with other people. So these discussions has led, we were supposed to be working with the Traffic, which is the UN arm which is responsible for fighting wildlife trafficking, to see how the AEO program can help in that area, because they came to realize that most of this trafficking that takes place actually takes place through the mainstream supply chain. It's not smuggled or hidden, but through the mainstream. So they have also come to accept that yes, things are sneaking through the mainstream, and therefore the AEO approach could possibly be the best way by which you can address. Because if the consignor or the owner of the goods puts in place or those factors that will make the supply chain low risk, then we will be able to detect and deter any trafficking of wildlife. So as you say, I think collaborating with other agencies is going to be very important in this aspect. There was something you mentioned about the domestic tax and customs, where you say we all deal with the same trader. That was also, I think, that's something I needed to expand on a bit. That you see, it is the same trader. He's an AEO, all right, in customs. He deals in customs, but on the other side, he's also the same one paying domestic taxes. I recently did some extraction and I realized that the current 83 AEOs we have are contributing about 34% of customs revenue. But when I try to check in domestic taxes, I find that over the last 4 years, it ranges between 12 to 15% of domestic tax revenue. So these are the same people who are contributing this one and the other one. So in that regard, therefore, I think we need to take them as very critical players in our sector. Well, I think as we are nearing the end of our discussion, Charles, maybe I would therefore ask you to maybe give the viewers your last words.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you, viewers, for allowing me to participate in this discussion. Hopefully we shall have more. We need to have more. We would first of all request that if there are any questions, please drop them on my mail, drop them on Mr. Martin Ojok's mail or any of the AEO program mails, or through your various ranks of leadership, so that you can consolidate them and focus our discussion to the actual needs. Another one will be a call. This is a call for compliance. Compliance from the private sector to their national obligations. Compliance to government agencies to our commitments to deliver on the promise we made to the public. Customs, we have got AEO, we have got selectivity. Domestic tax has cooperative compliance program. UNBS, I think some other government agencies have something called preferred trade or something like that. We need to be clear. But either way, there is one, the call for compliance, to comply with the obligations from the private sector, and also compliance from our side to what we committed to deliver. This compliance also brings in the call for partnership. We cannot comply unless we partner. It's a call for partnership, call for mutual respect. Irrespective of which side of the table you are still a citizen and a critical player in the value chain. Then a call for building consensus and trust. But you cannot do this unless you understand the business process of the partner, of the client. So in the case of us as government agencies that have got the benefit of the law on our side, we are under obligation to understand the business process. So I discuss and engage from the level of knowledge, not superficial. Without that, you cannot get trust. Without that, you cannot get cooperation. On the other side, of course, calling on the public to trust us that we are winning, we are cooperating in spite of the shortfalls. The journey is the journey we have committed to go into. Another one is, of course, what we have been discussing all along. It's a basic economic principle: comparative advantage, competitive advantage. How can AEO, how can cooperative compliance, how can trade facilitation, how can our interventions in security and supply chain leverage the national competitive advantage to make us competitive? Without that, then the Millennium Development Goals are, we call it swimming in a mud, are swimming in a mud. You cannot generate employment, you cannot generate income, you cannot have a favorable balance of trade, you cannot have a favorable exchange rate. The higher the exchange rate, the more the cost. Of course, it benefits the importer because he gets more from a unit of dollar, but it also makes our costs of goods more expensive across.
Yes.
So comparative advantage cannot be of value to us unless we make it competitive. And this must be our we call it again selfish, constructive selfishness. This must be a constructive selfishness for government agencies, for URA, and for the business sector, that we must take advantage of our resources of Uganda. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. Thank you. You have really given us all the insights that we needed to know. From what I see on my dashboard, there are no more questions. But if you have a question, there is still time for you to ask and get a feedback on this topic, what we are discussing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been discussing about the 5th Global AEO Conference, and the theme is AEO 2, Advancing Towards New Horizons for Sustainable Trade and Secure Trade. The conference will take place on the 25th to the 27th of May this month in Dubai. But this global conference, unlike the previous ones, or unlike the one which was hosted here in Kampala, this time this global conference will be done virtually. That is, it is going to be online. It is going to be very interesting because the experience is going to be totally different. The good thing with it is that while it does not involve us walking physically up to Dubai, we are going to be able to attend it more cheaply. All you need is register, get the link, and when you get the link, you need to spend some little on data, then you are connected and you should be able to attend. As I said earlier, the dates are from 25th to 27th of May this month. The link for registration is running on the screen. If you cannot get it from the screen, go on Google, type, and then you search and you'll get the event website where you can register from. One thing that I want to say is that you have to do it a little faster because they may close registration soon. Now, as a recap, Uganda's participation will be in two major ways. One is that our own Commissioner for Customs will be participating in one of the panel discussions. That is on the first day, on the opening day. He will be discussing the importance of intergovernment agencies and border agencies in AEO programs. So you need to listen to how they discuss this, because when we work as URA, we always interface with other government agencies, and we need to understand from our perspective and also perspective of the rest of the people in the world how government agencies impact on our work and how important they are, how we can collaborate and cooperate to make sure that the supply chain is facilitated. We are also going to be signing an MRA, that is Mutual Recognition Arrangement, with China on that day. The signatory, of course, is going to be the Commissioner General, who will be the one to sign on behalf of URA. It is a very important event. It will be a landmark and a very historical event because it will be the first MRA signed between an AEO program on the African continent with another country. So it will be very important. Please be there and witness this as part of the history that we are making. To give you some few topics of interest, the conference will also be discussing issues of how to foster sustainable supply chains. You can get to hear from experts on that topic. There will also be a panel discussion on extending the scope of AEO programs to e-commerce operators, those who are dealing online, because you know, following the trends nowadays, you realize that in the world, the e-commerce companies seem to have grown to be the largest. When you talk of the Alibabas, you talk of Alibaba and
I think Alibaba is a good example.
Alibaba is a good example. Then the other one I've forgotten. These have grown, and the fact that they have grown into very huge enterprises means there's a lot of trading that they are doing. Now, how do we get them on board on our side to understand their business and to make sure that they are contributing their fair share of revenue to us? That is very important, and we get experience from other people from who have already dealt with this kind of issues. If you were following, either a week or two ago, China was levying a very big, I think, either tax on Alibaba, and they are trying to see how these e-commerce companies can be brought under control so that they don't become too large to manage something like that. They should grow, but within, while the tax administration should also be seeing how best they can regulate the growth in some of these. So these are very interesting discussions that you need to be to attend. Identification of emerging supply chain security threats such as cyber security risk. We are all using, even right now we are online, but we don't know what risk we are facing by being online. So the experts will explain to us. Nowadays people just go online with their laptop and you attend any meeting or any conference. You don't know who is keeping your data. You don't know how they are using it. You don't know what risk you're exposing yourself to. So such topics will be very interesting that you hear from experienced people. Engaging other government agencies in the post-COVID recovery program. That's also another very interesting area that you need to be involved in, because COVID is real, it is there. Other topics include leveraging emerging technologies for AEO programs in order to promote supply chain renewal. Technologies are there, very many technologies, different ones. You will start hearing people talking about things to do with bitcoins and so all these topics will help us to understand the world around us, and therefore I would like to interest you that you register for this global conference and get time to attend the conference and contribute as much as possible to make sure that you learn and the world also learns from us. The emails for feedback will be there. We will give it to you so that in case you have any other questions after this, please feel free to get in touch with us so that we can give you the information or direct you how to register, where to register from, how to attend the conference, and how to contribute. But normally it is easy and simple because the processes are self-explanatory. With that, I would like to thank all of you for attending this webinar, and I hope we will keep on interacting for the benefit of the AEO program, for the benefit of URA, and for the benefit of Uganda and the customs fraternity as a whole. Thank you very much.